Hey, what's up, everybody? Alright, 54 minutes is how much storage space I have. That's becoming an issue now. How's it going? Yeah, I want to make sure this is horizontal instead of vertical because I think last time or one of the times it ended up being vertical. Anyway, my name's Joshua. Welcome to Hammock Chats. Today it's 9:06 p.m. on Sunday, December 22nd, 2024. Current temperature is, one moment, that doesn't tell me on the home screen. Oh, there it is, 59 degrees. So, yeah. So it's the holiday season, right? We're a few days away from Christmas. It's not going to be a white Christmas here. It's going to be plenty warm, back into the upper 70s for Christmas. It has been a little cooler the past couple days. It was in the 40s the last two nights, so that was great. So I knew I was planning on doing this either Friday night or Saturday night, but I wasn't able to because I just fell asleep. And so, like, last night I fell asleep so early because I was just exhausted when I got home that I woke up at 7 a.m., which is very unusual for a Sunday because it's the only day of the week that I get to sleep in. I don't have to wake up to an alarm, So I usually will sleep until 9 or 10 or even 11. And I woke up at 7 a.m. because I passed out at like 10 o'clock, which is unusual for a Saturday night. But, yeah, that's typically what happens if I don't go out or do anything after work. But yeah, so right now I feel okay. Right now everything's good. You know how it is though, it's a roller coaster. I do feel like and this is all just off the dome, so I don't even know, like I don't have any notes prepared for this or anything. But yeah, I'm growing every day. So we're headed towards the end of the year. We're in almost the last week of the year. It's kind of interesting this year because Christmas is kind of in the middle of the week. Christmas Eve is Tuesday and Christmas Day is Wednesday, and then the same thing with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So like tomorrow is a business day, Monday the 23rd. I'm on shift and there's appointments and stuff like that. And then Tuesday and Wednesday we're off, everything's closed. And then Thursday the 26th we're back, and Friday the 27th, and Saturday the 28th. And then Sunday the 29th is off. Monday the 30th is a business day, so that's on. Tuesday the 31st, I think, is still a business day, because New Year's Eve isn't. I think only New Year's Day is a holiday. So, but yeah, it's just kind of weird. But today was my first day off since Thanksgiving, actually, because, yeah, I'm on shift Monday through Saturday, so 6 days a week. I usually get at least, one or two appointments, and then once I leave the house, I'm gone for the day because I'll tie it in with other stuff. I'll knock some doors, make some calls, follow up, go to installs, whatever. But I'm out all day. And then, so Sunday is the only day where there's no appointments, but the last 3 Sundays in a row, I've had go-backs that I've scheduled. Because like if I run an appointment on like Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday even, and the go back would be for the weekend, so most people just assume that only Saturday. But so I'll ask them, like, you prefer Saturday or Sunday, and if they're like, they're okay with either, I'll put them down for Sunday, because that way it's not going to interfere with it's not going to block off space on my calendar, so I don't get another appointment in that same window, because I want as many appointments as I can get. I want as many opportunities to close and get installs as possible, right? So I never turn down appointments. I'm always, people, I can't run this, who can run it? They send it to me immediately, So, and even if it's like really tight and it's far away and I don't really have enough time, I'll make it work, And I've had to do that a lot of times where like my last appointment will go late and I'll have to call the homeowner and tell them I'm running late and, try to make it work and all that stuff. But I get it done. So last 3 Sundays in a row, I've had go-backs for my customers and or referral appointments. So I was just as busy there as any other day. And then, while I'm out, I'll still knock doors or whatever. So today is the first day of because Thanksgiving was the 28th, right? So that was Thursday. So then Friday, 29th, it was back to work. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday was the 1st of December. So I had a referral appointment and a go back on that day. And then that whole week. And then Sunday, the 8th, I had another close. And then 9 through the 15th, or 9 through the 14th, and then 15th I had a self-gen appointment also. And so then this week, and then today's Sunday the 22nd. So this is literally the first day off that I've had since the last one of these videos I've done. The last one I think was around Thanksgiving, or right after Thanksgiving. So today, naturally, my good friend Brad, who I've definitely talked about here, is very specific with his lifestyle. He has a lot of wisdom, a lot of stuff like that. So one of the biggest things in his faith is observing the Sabbath, which he does on Saturday, which I believe is the proper day for it. And so, he's always talking about the Sabbath and this and that. And so I'm like, so what does the Saturday look like for you? What do you do? And he's like, well, basically the idea is just not to do any work, So it's like not necessarily dedicated to worship or stuff. I mean, he doesn't go to like a specific church anyway, because he kind of, is not really conforming to doesn't really buy into the man-made system, stuff like that, which is part of the reason he has so much knowledge and insight. But he always says he's not a Christian, he's a disciple of Christ, because Christian's a man-made term. So, whatever, I could get with that. And so, but he's big into the Bible and stuff like that. But he just doesn't put himself in a box, So, but yeah, so Saturday, like, he doesn't really do anything different or extra in terms of, like, I mean, he prays in the morning and the evening, I believe. And it's about it, I think. So, yeah, it's really kind of the same. He just doesn't do any work. So, like, he logs out of all of the work apps and doesn't open, anything like that. Doesn't like talk to anyone from work or do anything about work, just basically tunes out from that, and also doesn't like communicate, like doesn't respond to phone calls or texts or something unless it's an emergency. And so I'm like, so what do you do? Because like, I can't picture him just sitting and staring at the wall, And he's like, well, he'll either go, like he'll do some local, like, because I know Sunday is this day where he does errands like shopping and all that stuff. So Saturday, he'll just do something light, like maybe he's supposed to eat a lot of food on the Sabbath, but not really cooking. So he cooks, I think, on Friday or something, and then that like is food for the whole weekend for him. So he pre-makes 6 or 7 meals to eat over Saturday and Sunday. So he eats food that he already made, and from my understanding, he just doesn't really leave the house, or he just kind of, reads and, just acquires knowledge from his sources, I would assume. So, he was really talking to me about the value of that and like what it does for him, physically, mentally, spiritually, all that stuff. And so I agree that you should take one day a week off, I think. And especially like this last few weeks have really proved it, because man, working 7 days a week is just a little bit too much. Like, it's really hard to keep at 100% that whole time, So, and then it's kind of doing the people around me a disservice at that point if I'm not at 100%, not always putting my best foot forward. I may actually miss out on opportunities that I may have been able to if I was coming into it a little bit more, a little bit more charged, like more sharper. So I, told him, about my situation, and I agree that it should be Saturday, but that's not really with work and stuff. I'm at Saturday's the busiest day, most important day. So I mean, probably like once I move up higher into management, where I'm not like in the field as much, then I can probably be able to do that. Because I'll be working from home for that kind of stuff anyway. But for right now, at least, they need me in the field on Saturday, so can't really afford to do that. So Sunday is the next best thing because it's the only day that there's no appointment. So that's the only day I can take off, unless I want to sacrifice a lead shift, which I really can't afford to do. So Sunday it is, and so yeah, the last 3 Sundays in a row, I was just working like any other day. So this is the first time I really tried to implement that, and I think I'll probably do like every other Sunday, knowing me, because I still, or whatever, or I'll just be off by default unless like I have something scheduled, and then I'll just do that, and it'll be a light day, but not like a full day of work. So today was the first day that I didn't leave the house. I didn't even get dressed today. So naturally I did, in the morning, I got up, meditated, did all that, had some coffee, and then I took some mushrooms, which of course I still have a decent amount of because I haven't been using them as much as I thought I would be, which I basically thought I'd be able to like every week or every other week. But the longer it's been since I've done it, the more I kind of forget how involved it is, like how intensive an experience it is, where you really don't want to do it again, a few days later or a week later. It kind of is best to space it, a couple months apart, I think. But for me, it's been, probably 4 or 5 months since the last time I took mushrooms. I've never really been a microdose guy. I guess I just haven't really given it a fair run, so I'm not opposed to it. But every time I've taken mushrooms so far has been a heroic dose. So I kind of gotta, clear my day for that anyway. So this is the only day like that I even could take it, because I certainly can't be taking a heroic dose if I have stuff to do, anything to do really. So today was kind of that day, and so I took a bunch of mushrooms at like 9 a.m. and I don't have like a scale or anything like that at all. I literally just grab them out of the bag, and I just try to like estimate how much it is based on what the total amount is, and then like what percentage of that it looks like, and then try to even out the stems and the caps and all that stuff, which I ended up, I think, I did pretty accurate. I would say I took about 4.5 grams, so I believe that constitutes a heroic dose. But yeah, so I'm not really sure what my intention was with that, which I guess might be part of the issue, because I found that, like, especially the first few times I've taken mushrooms, I've had a specific thing that I was hoping to get information on, a specific question or a specific topic or, something that I was looking for, and then I guess my brain just kind of made it about that, I guess. I'm still not 100% sure how it works. But so this time I was going in with no agenda, and I think that's how it was the last few times, really. And I've had similar experiences where basically I didn't hallucinate, I didn't hear any voices or have anything talking to me, or didn't really feel anything external. All it was just the ego death part of it, which is always like in the beginning. And then I feel like what that is kind of just like my metaphor for it would be like a like a dial tone, or like a calling, like a ringing kind of thing. The ego death, because that's required in order to connect to the other frequencies, but there's no guarantee that you will connect. So you might just be static right then. So, as I feel is the case today. Now, usually, it kind of like get some, information back like a few days later, where it'll kind of come to me and I'll be like, oh, maybe that's what, this is. I'll get some like an epilogue after. But so I guess for now it's still kind of fresh. But yeah, really nothing significant happened. I just kind of felt the ego death, and just like not confusion, because I was still like aware of what was going on, but just like questioning things, like my confidence went away, and assurance and all that stuff, and I just kind of was just like neutrally questioning everything, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe. But so that just by itself is not really a very pleasant experience. What makes it a positive overall experience combined is that that's just the state that one needs to enter to participate in these things, which a lot of times can be very enlightening or uplifting or whatever. But so if there is none of that, and it's just the ego death part, then it kind of unravels things a little bit. So like someone like me, for example, I have the same kind of thing as Brad, where like I don't sit still, I can't just do nothing. And so that's why it's been very hard for me learning how to meditate and be disciplined at that, because I guess it's ADHD or whatever you want to call it, but I just always got to be doing something, and my mind is always moving so fast. I can't really like think about the same thing for too long, or I always have to have things to do, and so if there's nothing else to do, I'll assign myself tasks to do as like busy work, basically, because if I'm left to my own devices, it's never long until it goes downhill. So that's kind of what ego death forces you to do, is it like takes away all of those distractions, and I'm not even thinking about doing anything else, and so I'm just left with this like sense of like not having any like comfort or reassurance or confidence or anything, and just like, I don't know, it's a lot more kind of like cold, I guess. So there wasn't any like negative things in particular, because it wasn't really anything external that I feel like I was interacting with. It was basically just like my my mind on a little bit different of a level. So like everything's just all within me. But so I think that possibly like it could just be chance, but I do feel like I may have been able to navigate it a little differently, maybe by preempting it ahead of time, or trying to guide it during with, because like once it kicks in, I just gotta go with it, and just see what happens. And yeah, so this time, kind of like once you get like an hour in and you're not like talking to anything, then it's kind of safe to assume that like it's not gonna all of a sudden pick up from there, like it's kind of just gonna pretty much plateaus, So after like an hour, nothing crazy was happening, and so I thought about taking more, but then I was like, Because I feel like it's not the right circumstances. Like, it's not gonna make it better, you know? It's just gonna intensify this thing. It's not gonna be a different thing, you know? So, I was like, I'll just ride with it. But then the ego death became unpleasant because it's kind of like I describe it as being like ultra sober, you know, where there's no like, because when you think of most intoxicants, things like alcohol, opiates, stimulants, even marijuana to a certain extent is kind of ego boosters. It's kind of like makes you feel better about yourself and all that, you as a person and stuff like that. And so psychedelics do the opposite, where it takes away you as a person, So if there's nothing that's being replaced with in terms of like visions or trips or whatever, then it's just kind of left in like this state of like just being uncomfortable, So that's how I was, and I was having trouble finding things to engage me. Like I was clicking on things on YouTube, and I just didn't have the attention span or the interest in any of the stuff. So what I did is I once I saw I wasn't going anywhere, I started drinking alcohol. I had a couple beers that I had in the fridge, and so I kind of felt when I started drinking it kind of felt it like go into my body, and it just felt like dirty, it felt like it was polluting me, which really is what alcohol is when you think about it. I mean, you think about what alcohol does to water. If you research that, it's like it just comes in and just attacks all of the molecules and rearranges them, and whatever. And so that, the human body is mostly water, so it does the same thing, so it is polluting our bodies. And so because I was in this kind of heightened state with the mushrooms, I sensed that, and it didn't really like boost my ego that much, because like there's a certain window of time where, like there just is no ego during the mushroom trip until it wears off. And so there's not really anything you can do to counteract that. So all it did is just make me feel like dirty or polluted, and not really much better. Or that after the first one. And then so I had another one, and then I kind of felt a little bit more buzzed, or just kind of like I knew that I was intoxicated. Like I didn't feel drunk. It wasn't affecting me the same way that it would if I was, sober, and like if I didn't have the mushrooms and then I drank. But I just kind of felt like kind of the physical part of it, like the kind of warm, like fuzzy, tingly kind of thing that starts happening. And I don't know, like it's kind of hard to describe, but like I knew that I had a few, but I didn't feel like the positive part of it, So this is like 11 a.m., and so which I'm not really I'm not really a daytime drinker. Well, it doesn't really matter, I guess. I mean, I have drank during the day, but it's not at home, like if I'm at an event or with people or whatever, it's kind of feel it out. But yeah, so then that kind of like changed the path of things, and so then it just kind of slowly like kind of balanced out from there. But it's kind of interesting where with the synesthesia I'm able to like feel things like that. So like with the alcohol I felt it, and the synesthesia combined with the mushrooms I'm sure made it extra heightened experience. But I felt like the molecules interacting with the molecules in my brain, and like a tingling in my brain of like this, of like I felt it entering my bloodstream, and all this stuff. And it just really was like, oh man, like this happens every time, so that just kind of doubles down on my previous stance that alcohol really is kind of stupid. Like not really worth it. The pros don't outweigh the cons. So I mean, I kind of have, had the feeling for a long time that like my eventual outcome is I will be straight edge, sober, and also vegan, plant-based diet and all that stuff. This is right now that's not really feasible, with the diet part. I'm still vegetarian, but it probably will be for life. But in terms of alcohol, I mean, most of the people that I know that have just quit drinking are alcoholics, just because they had a problem and it was interfering. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't even crave alcohol or do what, like I'll have a drink mostly as a social thing, but like I don't, drink myself into a stupor. I actually don't like being blackout drunk or being wasted. Like once it gets past a certain point, I just kind of cut myself off, because is like I know it's not going to be fun in a few hours, but it's not even fun then, to me. So I'm not really worried about that. I've never been a heavy drinker, and to this day I've only been blackout drunk a handful of times. So usually the most I'll drink is like 2 shots, or the equivalent of whatever, canned or bottled, whatever. About probably 2 shots if I'm at home, and then maybe if I'm out, like at a bar or doing a social thing, maybe like the equivalent of 4 shots on like a night out for a special occasion. But that's about it. Like I know people that do 8 or 10 or 12, and I'm just like, how do you, like, I don't even, yeah, that's a whole nother world to me. But yeah, so I've just been kind of gradually coming down from that. I mean, now it's 9:30 p.m., so it's 12 hours later, so it's safe to say the mushrooms are done with their effects by this point. But yeah, so today I didn't really do anything productive or notable, but it's good. Like I do feel like I kind of needed this to sort of recharge, although I do think for the Sabbath or the day off or whatever you want to call it, probably should, lay off the psychedelics and the intoxicants, and because that kind of interferes with the recovery process for the body. So I that is one thing I would say. But anyway, I know there was other stuff I wanted to talk about here. Let me think. Well, okay, so work. Well, that's another roller coaster. I've had some ups and some downs. I mean, overall, our office is struggling. We're still the smallest office in the company, and kind of not really taken seriously by a lot of the other offices, because they're doing 300, 400, 500 contracts a month, and we're doing like 20. So Florida's just a different animal. But I've been leading the pack. I have this other guy, Brett, who's might actually be watching this for all I know. But he's been really finding his groove lately. He closed 9 contracts this month, which I think is a record for him. Last month he did like 7 or something. So he's been doing pretty good the last few months. So he's actually in first place right now. But any given month, the MVP is either him or me. And so obviously I do have the edge on him for being having more experience and having more installs and stuff like that. So once I get the referral game locked in, then I'll take off. It'll be a bigger margin, so I'm not worried about that. And once Prime gets going, because he's had Prime reps just about every week, and I haven't trained anyone in like 6 weeks now, So I kind of forgot that that I was even still a primer. But so Tyson says next week, or right the first week after the new year, he's giving me one that he says is going to be really good. So that's what he said about the last two. But yeah, so that'll be cool. So far I'm at 6 contracts for the month of December. So I had 4 in October, 5 in November, and now 6 in December. So that's 15 for the quarter. So very could easily get to 20, because we still have, 5 or 6 days left of business days. It's good because I know I'm really close with Tyson, and he has my back, and he does a lot of, he definitely does go above and beyond for me, so I'm grateful for that. Like sometimes I'll be in a home, like if he knows I need one that week, or is trying to push it through for the month or whatever, like I'll say, hey, I just got a 3:00 appointment, here's the address, can we one touch close it? And so as soon as I get there, I get a picture of the electric bill, add up the usage, and send it to him, and he starts building the system and the contract while I'm doing the in-home process with them. And so he just uploads it, and so then as soon as they pass credit and I open the thing, it's right there, and they can just sign and do it all in one sitting, so I don't have to come back, which is great for several reasons, because I don't have to schedule another appointment, so it saves me gas and time, and also isn't blocking another window of time for any other appointments that I could get. And it's also like striking while the iron's hot and not giving them time to, because time kills all deals, right? So either something to come up, or for them to lose interest or forget about it, or whatever, So it's better for a lot of reasons. But so we've done a few of those, and the problem is the main thing that's been kind of upsetting me is the pull-through rate, which is the amount of contracts that actually go to installation. So a lot of them have been falling off. So right now I only have about I think it's a 62% pull-through rate, meaning that 38% of the contracts never get installed, which usually either means they cancel or become unresponsive, or like we discover something later on that becomes a problem and never gets resolved. But the most common of those is the homeowner canceling. And so that's kind of, always tough on me, because, I just get this feeling that I wasted my time and I'm not going to get paid for this. And also just a sense of betrayal, which I guess, is an ego thing, but in sales is kind of goes hand in hand, with being good at selling. But, I just kind of take, I remember the most recent one, this guy I spent 3 hours with. It was one of those ones I actually did go back in 3 days, so I was at his house twice, and the first time for about an hour and a half, and the second time for about 3 hours. And so we had really become friends by the end of it, and we were talking about like stuff that we were recommending each other, and good restaurants and good, places. It wasn't just surface level rapport, like it was genuine stuff, and we were like writing things down and whatever. And so like I overcame all of his objections, and he did have valid concerns and questions and everything, so I had to explain things, and in a way that resonated with him. And he was like, oh, this is great, what's your name, I'm gonna give you 5 stars, and this is, you got to keep doing what you're doing, and you're gonna get promoted, and anything I can do to help, this is great, and he was excited about the deal that he got and everything, and I set up all the process and the expectations. And so, I always go out of my way to establish I'm your primary contact for this whole thing. If you have any questions or concerns or you need anything, just call me and I got you. Most things I'll be able to take care of myself. Anything that's not, I'll pass on to my manager and I'll make sure that we resolve it for you. So that's how I leave it for everybody. And so he was like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll be in touch. And he's one of the, most of the people, as long as I build a good rapport, by the end of it, they're just like, hey, come by any time just to hang out, not even about work. And every once in a while I take them up on it. But, yeah, so he was one of those. So I felt good about it. I was like, it's great, we're helping him out. He, understands all this. He's excited about it. It's a real positive experience. And so the next day I get an email, a cancellation notice email that he, I guess, had called into corporate to cancel it. And it didn't really give a reason. It only gave one sentence. He was like, yeah, he said he doesn't use a lot of electricity, so it doesn't make sense for him or something like that. And I was just kind of like, is this for real? Is this the same guy? Because there's so many things with that. First of all, he knows exactly how much electricity you use, and I showed him that. That was the first thing I showed him when I came back. All right, here's your system. Here's how much power is producing. Here's how much you use, and here's what it's going to be. And so, he was like, oh, wow, yeah, looks good. We even went over this stuff, how did he just, his memory is wiped, and now he's back to, why did he sign for it then? He obviously understood how it works and why it benefits him. But even more than that, what really upset me is not the fact that he canceled, but the fact that he didn't even call me or text me, or he just completely went behind my back and that number is not even easy to find. He had to look it up and spend time on it when he could have just called me, and he's got me on speed dial, and at least half the time when homeowners call me, when they say they change their mind or they want to cancel, whatever, I'm actually able to win them back, because I let them talk, I make them feel heard, I validate them, and then I kind of get to the root of what their issue is, and usually it's just explaining the same stuff we already talked about, just in a different way, where it kind of reassures them. Or if it's something new, then I just handle that the way that I do, and then most of the time they're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, let's do it then. And so I can save them back. But if they don't even call me, I don't even get that opportunity, so that's the part that feels like betrayal to me. And so it's tough, because there's a part of me that's just like, well, fuck him then. I don't want to help this guy anymore. He's disrespected me. But I can't let that win, because I get paid if it gets installed and I don't if it doesn't. So I kind of got to put that aside and try to get him back on board. But I went to his house yesterday, and I know he was home. His car was there. The door was propped open, all that stuff, and he just didn't answer. So it's come on, man. Really? You just said, you just last time we left it, you wanted me to stop by any time just to hang out with you, and now you're so afraid of telling me that what you think I'm just wasn't gonna find out, or I just don't get it. And then there was another one that canceled, or I guess they sent in a letter, because some of these old people are that's how they think people communicate. So instead of just calling or emailing or whatever, they sent in a letter to the corporate address, which again isn't easy to find. They have to look this stuff up, and so I didn't get notified till a week later when they received the letter, and they said it was dated the same day that they signed. So that one, and again, and those people didn't call me or text me either, even though I was actually at their house for 4 hours, and I helped them through every possible thing, the technical difficulties, and making sure he gets copies of everything, and going over what everything is, and helping them out, and doing calculations with them, and way above and beyond. And I remember I actually had to turn down other appointments that day because I was still in that house, and it was far away from me too, and so I spent 4 hours with them just on the close, and they were really like, we built a lot of rapport too, and by the end of it they were excited and they were like, oh wow, this is great, Joshua, thank you, come by anytime. And I'm like, all right, well, let me know if you need anything, you got my number. And they even like read it back to me, and they're like, all right, I'm gonna save you to my contacts, and I'm gonna read this over and I'm gonna let you know if I have any questions. So yeah, perfect. And that's how he left it. And then to find out that they mailed in a cancellation notice that day, probably within hours of when I left, and gave no reason or explanation for it, and didn't even tell me, is like, what the fuck, man? Like, why'd you waste my time? Like, whatever it was, it couldn't be any new information. If you don't want to do it, just don't do it. Like, why go through all of that? That's the part I don't understand. Like, what could have possibly came up where they're like, oh, actually, no, I don't want to save money, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, and then but again, the part that upsets me the most is that they don't even call me when I'm their guy. I'm the whole reason that they even know about this, and they have no idea what I do to get people a way better deal than I have to, and that most people do. So I kind of do take that personally. But whatever. The best thing to do is just move on and keep getting them. But Florida's hard, man. I hear about it on the other states, like their process, and I'm like, yeah, I wish that worked here. I wish it was that easy. Like, this just because solar is still relatively early on here in its adoption, so it's just so much misinformation, and people still think it's a scam, and they're getting ripped off, and like they approach it with such hostility and these preconceived notions, and they're just combative with me, and like nobody trusts me, and they all think I'm just there to pull one over on them, and I'm a con artist or something. And like like that's just how I would say most people here are. There's very few like that are actually like, oh yeah, I know how this works, yeah, that makes sense, like. And I guess that's how people are up north, is they're just like, oh yeah, we know how solar works, just why should we choose you over another company? Oh, well, that's easy. I could do that all day, because I'm confident in the company that I work for and the kind of program we have. But like, to explain to someone why it makes sense to use the sun to power your house so you get the same electricity at a lower and protected electricity rate, why that makes more sense than staying with the utility company, is like, man, if you can't like if you don't understand that in like 2 minutes, then I really don't know what I can do for you. And it's the same thing. It's like, oh well, it's just too expensive. Cool. Well, this is a no-cost program, so I literally don't want any money from you to do this. It's all subsidized. You just you swap your current bill for a lower one. That's it. That's it. So there's no money out of pocket, and I'll show them this in writing if they allow me to. Like, so I'm gonna show you there's no money out of pocket, and you all you have is just a lower bill from what you're already paying. So but again, like, a lot of people just don't really understand that, and that's like their biggest, oh yeah, we thought about it, it's just not really in the budget right now. What are you talking about? How is saving money not in your budget? That should be even more of a reason to do it. So paying a $200 electric bill isn't in the budget for you, but paying a $300 one is. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But it's just uneducation and misinformation is really the main things that we fight here. But it is getting better. So sometimes it's hard to see the forest through the trees, and I get frustrated and caught up in these day-to-day things. But as long as I just take a breath and look at the bigger picture, they have come a long way. Like this quarter, I'm finally getting 15 installs. So I'm getting the high flyers this quarter, which means I'll get a bonus. A shout out on the company call, and also an invite to the gala. And I also just made the roster for the Sales Academy in Q1 to retake it. I wish I did it this quarter because I know I already have high flyers. But so last quarter I had 7 installs. So each quarter I've gotten more installs. So Q1 I had 1 install, Q2 I had 6, Q3 I had 7, Q4 I have 15 installs. So that's huge. So like that's what's important that I gotta keep track of. And so next quarter I'm going for 25, and that'll put me in President's Club. So, still on the up and up overall. What else is going on? Oh yeah, so I've just been doing a lot of reflecting as we get closer to the end of the year about, what this kind of summarizing this year, and then also what my goals and plans for next year. So where I'm at with, I'm not sure if I'll do another one of these before the end of the year, probably, or like around that time, where I can kind of make it go more in depth about this, because I'm kind of running out of time here. But I think 2024 was an important year for me, and I have grown a lot from the beginning of this year. I started the year where I was just leaving outreach and going into sales, and I really had no idea what I was in for. I thought I did, but my world was about to be turned upside down. So the first quarter, I'll say January, February, March, was very very hard on me, because I basically was kind of like ego death, really. I was kind of like stripped to the core of, like, I built my whole lifestyle around outreach, and so to be just kind of all, and with direct, since it's just commission, it's a lot more isolation. It's up to you to go get it and figure it out and make it work. So I had very minimal coaching and stuff like that, so it was challenging for me, and I had to just like start over with everything I know, and then didn't have that security of having a base salary or anything, so like a lot of financial pressure, and a huge learning curve, and yeah, it was tough. So I've definitely grown a lot in that sense. Now when I walk into homes, the kind of confidence that I have and the tools that I use and everything, it's like, oh man, I'm unrecognizable from the beginning of the year. So that's definitely something I'm grateful for, and some more experience with the job, which really, like, I know I keep talking about work, but honestly, that's like one of the main things that influence my life and my mind, really, because it truly is a transfer of energy. And so, like, I'm very genuine, and it's how I learn a lot more about myself and about the world around me, and things like that. I'm gonna take a sip of water here. But yeah, so that's influenced that. And then what else this year? My credit score has improved. I kind of went. I was gonna say I have more money, but it's kind of pretty much the same financial state that I was at in the beginning of the year, because I did go deeper into debt for the first half of the year, really, until it started to turn around and started picking up. And so it's been kind of a gradual, and then the whole thing with 50/50 pay, and then coming off of that, and the reclaims and all that stuff. So it's really now the past, like, 2 months that I've had more of a steady uphill trajectory, but I am still pretty deep in debt. So not quite there yet. But definitely, it was important this year to go through that to get to that next step. I've gotten a lot more confident socially, for sure. I'm a lot better with people, and even just outside of work, just like going to bars and clubs and whatever. Like, even though it's not really my scene, I feel like it's important for me to put myself out there and be able to interact with that whole thing. So, and I've met some interesting people. I actually met one person who's a homeowner that's signed up with me. I met him at a bar. So it actually pays for itself in that aspect. Still single. Haven't had much romance this year. I had a brief little fling that didn't really go very far. For just a little bit. But that's about it. But I feel like I've laid a lot of blocks with that. Like, I'm more functional as a person. Like at the beginning of this year, I was not really in that kind of state where I was able to support myself without a lot of drama and stuff like that. So it would be harder for me to be in a relationship. But so now I feel like I'm more kind of stable. Or that would be so. Again, that's kind of just like with the money thing. It's been only like the last few months that I've really like invested more into that, because I've had to focus so much on work and on the learning curve and all that stuff, where it just consumed me. So now I'm like a little bit more able to let off the gas on that, because most of it's just on autopilot, just muscle memory. Like, it still takes time and energy and all that stuff, but like I can still do things outside of work, so goals for 2025. I only have like 2 minutes left on here before it cuts out. 2025 is going to be my first 6-figure year for sure. I was very close this year. I did make more than last year, just barely, so that's a win. But I'm going for $200,000 next year. I'm gonna buy my first house and become a homeowner, do a first-time home buyers program. That's why I've been working on my credit. So I'm gonna do that. My lease is up here in March, so that's probably when that's gonna happen. I'm going to try to either pay off or trade in my car, because now all the warranties are up and it's at almost 80,000 miles now. So whole point of getting a new car was so that it's reliable and didn't have to worry about it. So now it's getting up there. So I want to do something with that. I would say have a girlfriend would be nice, but you can't really force that. I'm definitely open to it, but if there's other plans in store for me and it's not the right time for all that, I guess I won't know until afterwards. But I'm certainly more I'm aware of more things on my end that have kind of subconsciously prohibited that now I've removed those obstacles. So most likely, I would say this upcoming year I will be in a relationship. What else? New place, better at work. Moving up in management. I'm gonna be at least ADM of the office. It's all I can think of for right now. But okay, well, I definitely want to do it. That went by way faster than I thought it would. I definitely want to do another one of these soon. Hopefully before the end of the year, but we'll see. So again, thanks for tuning in to this episode, and I like seeing you guys in the comment section and everything. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Merry Christmas.